This is the Oklahoma Talking Company.
Welcome to Activate Your Strengths with Rhonda Boyle. StrengthsFinder 2.0 is an analytical assessment created by Gallup Corporation, and many people today are using it to change their lives, improve their relationships, and enhance their work experience. This is the podcast where we explore using your natural talents and gifts in your personal and professional development. And now, here's your host, Rhonda Boyle.
Hey, welcome everyone. This is Rhonda Boyle, and welcome to the Activate Your Strengths show. Jason Baffrey, are we ready to rock and roll this thing?
Rhonda, I am so ready to rock and roll today.
I know, it looks like you have everything under control over there,
We do,
sir.
and I even set up a mic for myself today, so I don't sound like I'm off in the distance in another room this time.
I know, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear you, sir.
Yeah, it makes a difference to me.
Cool. All right, well, you know what? I'm over here doing a little fist pump because I am excited about our guest today. So let me introduce her. She is a lifelong Oklahoman, and she has had a long-time professional career in the insurance industry, and she has an amazing son. I happen to know he is just graduated to become a chiropractor, and she lives on the south side of Oklahoma City. Welcome, Stephanie Ruminer.
Hello there.
Yeah, hey, how glad to have you here in the studio. So we always start with knowing what your top 5 are. With the Gallup StrengthsFinder assessment, they have identified that there are 34 talent themes, and we have them all. You have them all, I have them all, but they rank in dominance, and that's what we want to hear what your top 5 are today.
Mine are strategic, relator, command, significance, and woo.
Ooh, I hear that, girl. So tell us, what was your aha moment? The very moment you took the test and you got these words, what did you think?
So I think my aha moment was the word command. It basically gave me a word to use for, the other word bossy that I've been called my entire life. You know, when you're the first of 4 children, you tend to be a little on the bossy side.
Just a little?
So the command, the word command really was like, oh my gosh, I'm not only am I bossy, I know how to command myself and command others, and I really dug that word command.
Yeah, cool. So I found it interesting that you took this test through your company. They made you take it.
Yep.
Yeah. So how'd that come about?
So at the time, I was working actually with a vendor that I was putting a benefit admin system in for one of my very largest groups, and most of the work that we did was either via conference call or webinars, and so you really don't have an opportunity to meet the person.
Right.
So their whole goal was everybody on their team shared what their strengths were, and then they sent it out to the HR contact and to the broker. And I thought, what a cool idea, because you really don't know who you're dealing with behind that phone. And so we all shared our strengths, and that's really what got me started down the StrengthsFinder path.
Wow, that's cool. And that was quite some time ago, right?
That was 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been in it almost as long as I have. So let's talk about your very first talent. Now, that's strategic. And strategic is a pretty common talent. There are a lot of people who have strategic, but it works differently for each and every person. You have an intuitive way of solving problems and looking at situations, and it happens very fast. You're really fast at coming up with solutions and steps to get to, from point A to point G or wherever you're going. And so how do you use that every day?
Well, I use it every day in that it seems a little funny in some respects that so many of my friends, when they want to start a new program or maybe they have this great idea for something they'd like to do with their career, they'll come to me and say, hey, Stephanie, what do you think about blah, 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 blah? And I'll be the first person to say, well, have you thought about this? And have you considered that? And what about if you went at it this way? And I do it naturally. I don't do it to try to tell them that their idea isn't a great idea. I just try to get them to see a bigger picture.
Sure.
And maybe a more complete picture, but maybe not a detailed picture.
Well, yeah, because, a lot of people can't see what you see.
Right.
And so you do tend to be flying, like maybe at 30,000 feet, you're above the problem. You can see peripherally. You can see all angles of the problem. So what about those people who can't see? Do they give you a little pushback?
Oh, sure. Or they think I'm trying to poke holes in their idea, which I really am.
Yeah, well, your command would probably have you do that, wouldn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah, so one of the needs of people who have strategic is to be trusted. Yeah, you really want to be trusted when you do come up with some type of plan. Even though the rest of us can't see it, you still need us to follow.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the interesting thing in working with you and the StrengthsFinder group is that I have come to realize that even more significantly because I'm not always the best at giving the step-by-step direction or giving all the fine details that person may actually be asking me for. I really enjoy the big picture of it.
Right.
I'm not really looking for the step-by-step.
So for those of us who are not high in strategic, we're down here on the ground going, help, we can't see what you see. And so it can be kind of a little frustrating.
It's frustrating for me too, because then I feel like I have to write a roadmap and why can't you just trust that I know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I know. Now they have you're using this talent a lot at work,
Absolutely.
aren't you?
Absolutely. At work. So we have different branch offices and I encompass 3 different states and we do a lot of strategic planning. We do a lot of branch calls. And so yearly, we do strategic planning and build teams to help us with what we would like to accomplish in the next year. Mm-hmm. We do strategic planning off the fly sometimes on the branch calls because maybe there's a particular issue that's going on in that branch. And we'll just kind of talk it out.
Yeah, that's an amazing talent to have. So let me ask you this. Let's move on to your relator. Relators love deep relationships.
Absolutely.
And that would be you too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So tell us, are you still friends with your kindergarten best friend or somebody way back like that?
I'd say first grade. Yes.
First grade?
First grade. Yes. I absolutely am still friends. We don't spend as much time together, but I will say I spend a lot of time with my high school friends.
Yeah.
We all get together. I'd say probably once a month, sometimes once every 2 months, and we'll all go to a particular concert together or go do an event together, maybe go to the lake together. We still really enjoy all spending time together. And, you've grown up with these people your whole life, so they know all your secrets.
And that's it. That's what you expect out of, with your relator and in those deep relationships, you expect them to hold and honor your secrets.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Confidentiality is really a hallmark of that relator talent.
It is.
Yeah. And you need time and one-on-one time in order to get to know people, right?
Yes.
So I happen to know that your sister is like right in that bullseye. If we were to say that relators have an inner circle, which would be like the bullseye on a target, she's right there, isn't she?
She absolutely is, and she's also a relator. So,
how interesting.
So we do have a very deep connection. It's funny, as kids we had a very deep connection, and then as we grew into teenage type years, not as much because we really got on each other's nerves.
Yeah.
And I mean, really got on each other's nerves.
She's quite a bit different than you.
She's extremely different than me. She has all 5 of her talents are in the nurturing talent.
Sure.
And extremely different. And but as we've grown into adults, we actually spend a great deal of time together. We go on motorcycle rides together. We double date with our boyfriends together.
I see that on Facebook.
We see each other every weekend, without fail.
Yeah.
And so it's I really enjoy her company now.
Sure. And you complement one another.
We do. She is a very good partner for me. Kind of a funny story. My nurturing talents are in my very, very bottom. I actually know what all 34 of my talents are.
Yeah.
And they're in the very, very bottom. And my empathy is number 30.
Uh-oh.
So I'm not a feeler. I don't feel what you feel. You could be really mad at me, like boiling mad.
And you have no
I would not
idea.
know. I'd be... The word oblivious comes to mind because I am. Her number 1 is empathy.
Wow.
And she is a very good partner for me because my boyfriend is very sensitive and he is high in empathy. And I probably hurt his feelings every day and don't know it. I just don't know. She knows. She can feel it.
Sure.
And so I have to constantly remind him, look, I'm not a mind reader. You have to tell me. I don't know these things. Now, if I see you physically get upset or your voice raise, I know I may have touched a nerve.
So you're relying on other body language and other
Absolutely.
cues to tell you what's going on, but you're not feeling a thing.
Not a thing.
Isn't that interesting?
I do have feelings, however.
Well, yes. You just don't physically feel what other people feel, and that's what someone with empathy does.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I can see how she can be a good barometer for you.
That's a good word to use because she really is. She is a person that, I could walk up to a couple in a room and just be like, "Hey, what's going on? What's happening?" And she'll pull me back and be like, "Oh, they're fighting."
Uh-oh.
She knows. She can feel the tension.
Sure.
And I don't see it. I don't feel it. Oblivious, it comes to mind again.
Right. I can see that. I can see how that happens and how that works. But isn't it interesting? Because it shows how you and your sister have created a strategic partnership, if you will. And she kind of gives clues you in on things that are going on while y'all are together.
She absolutely has. And once I took the test and said, "Hey, listen, I really would like you to take this assessment and let's share what our top 5 are," it kind of ballooned into all of our friends and family taking it as well, because I know that I do tend to probably hurt her feelings on a more regular basis, because she can feel when I'm tense. She can feel when I'm upset about something, which I think is a great strength, but can also be a little bit of a burden too, because she feels things so deeply. I don't feel them.
Yeah. We've talked to other people in the studio with their empathy, and they physically get drained by other people, high-powered people like you.
Yes.
So let's go forward now into your command. Now, command, just to let our audience know, command is a rare talent. In fact, less than 5% of people have it. At the time of this recording, I think close to 13 million people now have taken the assessment. Less than 5% have command in their top 5. You are a powerful woman.
I like to think of myself as being an intense person.
You are a little intense.
I have a lot of energy.
You do. So a lot of people you revealed to me have been intimidated by you.
They have, absolutely. And it was a little difficult in my dating life until I found a man that was more into wanting to partner with somebody rather than try to control them.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to be controlled.
I was going to say, there is no controlling you, girl. So you mentioned that you were the firstborn.
I am.
And so you kind of bossed other kids around, didn't you?
Oh, heavens, yes. Are you kidding me? Yeah. That's kind of my forte, I think I would say, is taking control of situations, whether it's mine to take or not. I will just take it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? People with command bring clarity when there's chaos.
Yep.
So you don't look at it as confrontation, do you?
Not at all.
You know how people avoid confrontation and conflict. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to go near that." You're diving right into the middle.
I love it. For me, I see it as a problem-solving opportunity, and I'm all about wanting to try to help two people get to a better place, because I do love people, and if there's something that I can offer up to help them with that conflict or with a particular problem, I love having a solution.
Sure. Yeah. So that's great that you really recognize, both sides of your command, because you can be accused. People, I'm sure, have accused you of being a bossy dictator.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but knowing what you're born for can really help you step into those places, and you do it very naturally. You don't see it as conflict at all.
I don't. And actually had this conversation with my boss last night as I was telling him about doing the radio show this morning. And he said, that's one of your strengths that I think I enjoy the most, because I know you're just going to handle it.
Sure.
You're just going to handle it. You're going to take care of it. And you're only going to come to me if you need my help on something, which is rarely.
That's very rare, right?
There's times where I need his advice.
Sure,
absolutely.
Sure, but there's no sugarcoating, is there?
No, ma'am. No. I'm a pretty direct and some would even say blunt person.
Yeah.
I don't go all the way around the mulberry bush. I get straight to the point. I don't like it when people do that with me or try to sugarcoat something to make it something that it's not. Just give it to me straight.
Sure.
And that's what I appreciate from people, is when they can do that, when they can just be direct with me as well.
Well, and that command is so essential in our lives. We need command on the battlefield, unfortunately, when we have war. One of my closest friends is actually an ER doctor, and she has command. Now, would you not want your ER doctor to take command when you walk in with a problem?
Most assuredly, I would.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So it's a very important talent to our world, and so Thank you very much for being there.
Yeah.
So now significance is your next talent, and that happens to be a rare talent also. Again, only 4 or 5% have significance, but it's kind of a confusing talent because it would appear at first glance that people with significance want eyes on them, but that's not the case for you.
Not necessarily, no. I'm not really a person that feeds into having any kind of public recognition or titles aren't super important to me. I mean, they're necessary, obviously.
Sure.
But mine is more helping to build something sustainable, building a team that just operates, like a well-oiled machine. Mm-hmm. That is what I get enjoyment out of, and helping a team come together, maybe through some conflict, and looking at each of their talents and reminding them of what each person's talents are, because sometimes it's very easy to forget. If you have a very strong talent that might overpower somebody else's talent, doesn't mean it's more important than theirs,
right?
But maybe you could partner a little better because you're more understanding.
Well, so the significance part or the recognition, really, you don't want eyes on you, but what you do like is eyes on your team.
Absolutely.
Because you mentioned when we talked before that you always looked forward to going for Office of the Year.
Absolutely.
And so forth. So, yeah, how did this show up as a kid?
Oh, as a kid, I was very involved in sports and playing softball. And actually, my mother was my coach, was, a little intimidating. She was a pretty intimidating lady herself.
The command apple may not fall far from the tree.
No, I don't believe it does. But the trophy was so important to me. I didn't want to, back then they didn't give you participation trophies. You got a trophy if you won.
Sure.
So winning was really important to me, and having that trophy and putting it up on my dresser and being like, that is my trophy.
Well, it wasn't so much competition though, was it?
I do have competition in my top 10 as well.
Do you? Okay.
So I'm very competitive, and competitive maybe even when I shouldn't be. But yeah, and I do have Achiever as well. So I'm sure that they all played off of each other. But
they do.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm sure I used them all together in certain instances.
Sure. And just a reminder, we're talking about the Gallup Strengths Finder Assessment, which you can find at www.gallupstrengthscenter.com. And for $15, you can go in and find out what your top 5 talents are out of 34 talent themes. So as you mentioned, you see your talents working together. And the only reason we break them apart is really to learn about them. It's true that you never use or rarely use one talent without another.
No, I don't see that for myself either.
Right. So, but anyway, for the sake of discussion and learning, we always like to kind of like highlight them one at a time, which brings us to your woo. Now, woo is the only talent that is an acronym. And it stands for winning others over. And that is what the woo is trying to do. They're looking for that spark of recognition or connection to let them know that they've won someone over in some way. So how does that show up for you?
I think probably if I didn't have woo, I might be in big trouble.
Because of your command
Because of my command and significance, I probably would be extremely intimidating to people, even more than what they tell me. But I think the woo gives me a certain amount of friendliness, and I've never met a stranger, and I've been that way ever since I was a small child. I mean, my mother has told many stories of me being gone in the store, and she's seen me with asking someone to pick me up as a small child, in a grocery store, which now people would be totally freaked out. But back then it wasn't as big of a deal.
Over.
I was.
Yeah.
I've never known a stranger, and I think the way that it helps me the most is in my career, in my personal life as well. But in my career, I do a lot of interviewing, and so I think that the piece that I like is that I don't ever want someone to feel intimidated when they're sitting across the desk from me, because I really would like to get to know the person. And, I can look at their resume and I can see all their accomplishments, and that's a piece of paper, right? And people can put anything on a piece of paper. I want to get to know the person. I want to get to know, what do they enjoy doing when they're not at work? What transition took them to taking this next position, so that I can determine, are they going to be a good fit for our culture? Are we going to be a good fit for them? Getting to know people is probably my greatest enjoyment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I'm hearing your woo and your relator working together in that kind of situation. So you're not intimidated by strangers. You said there's no, you've never met a stranger.
No.
So you woo them, and then you go deep. You take them deep.
I try to.
Right? Sure. Not
everybody is real keen on that when you very first meet them, but I really do try to get to know a person and find out their likes and dislikes and make a connection with them.
Sure. Now, though, the woo helps you with your networking.
Absolutely.
Do you do a lot of that?
I do a lot of networking, and I enjoy the networking, and I make it a point to meet every single person in the room.
Yes, of course.
And it may be very superficially because maybe it's just a, hey, hi, how's your day going? And my name's Stephanie, and what's your name? And then I move on to the next person. It
Sure.
can be very superficial, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of just making that initial connection with them.
Well, you get energy too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, this is your woo needs other people.
Yes.
And you need social variety.
Yes.
So you need to be moving among different groups of people all the time. And so when you're in that situation where you're networking and you're going around touching everybody, you're really kind of getting some energy from them.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I wouldn't consider myself a taker, but yeah, I really do. I really do enjoy that initial meeting. And exactly like you said, I get a lot of energy from meeting new people. I like to meet new people. Not somebody that I've met before. Although I will still sit and chat with them because I'm a very social person. But and it's funny because my boyfriend will say, you don't have to meet everybody.
Yes,
I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing about it is when you go and get some energy from people, all you do is go over and give it away to somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's not really taking, or if it is, you're taking for the sake of giving to somebody else because that's just what woos do.
Yeah, and I love introducing people to each other.
Yeah.
And maybe I know somebody in a particular circle that's looking for something else in another circle, and I will introduce them in
You're
a heartbeat.
a natural connector.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
enjoy
woos
it.
are.
Yeah,
I think people don't. I have woo. It's high, very high. It's my number 2, and so we have sort of like a file cabinet in our heads that as soon as we meet someone, we're immediately looking to try to make a connection for them. It's what we do naturally.
Yeah.
So and we do have like high energy that can make some people crazy, but guess what? We let you know where the people are.
Yes.
So
yes.
you really kind of want to follow us if you can tolerate us, right? So let's talk just for a minute. You mentioned earlier that in some of your conversations at work that you are helping people understand the talents of coworkers and so forth. And I know that you have StrengthsFinder as part of your office culture. It's a very important part too.
We do.
So how did you get that implemented?
So through strategic planning, actually, when I took the assessment that 6 years ago, I was going to be moving into a new role and working with a person that I'd never worked with a whole lot before. And so I actually went out and bought a book on my own and asked them to take the assessment and said, here's my report. So I felt like if I shared first, they would get an idea of what the assessment was about.
Sure.
Here's my report. I would really love to see your report. Would you share that with me? Because I would like to see where we will complement each other. And then I know I'm going to get on your nerves because I have command, right? I mean, I know with my boss, he's used to being the one that commands. And then here you have this person with command. Thankfully, he doesn't have it really high.
Oh, my gosh, because you'd probably kill one another.
We probably would. Mm-hmm. But it was good to know what his strengths were because we are a good complement of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you actually got it implemented everywhere in your company, though.
We did. Yeah. First through strategic planning in our committee. I just wanted to see what everybody on the committee had.
Right.
So that we could all share together and that they could kind of see, oh, wow, I can see why I might have some conflict with that person. Or, oh, wow, I could see why that person might be particularly quiet. Through that, we just said, why don't we just roll it out to the whole company?
Sure.
And we did.
Well, and it really does help, doesn't it? Like when you're in there solving conflict, you can see where people aren't getting their needs met and or where the conflict comes from.
Yes. And I would say that, just taking the assessment wasn't really the be-all, end-all. Mm-hmm. It really wasn't because, we all took the assessment, but what do you do with it after that?
Yeah, right.
So what we did was we had you and Lee come in and actually do a corporate, basically basic for us so that you could teach each of us what each of the strengths meant. And then the second day of our training was, learning about how to use your strength in the best possible way and being in a good place with your strength, not in a bad place with your strength, because every strength can be a weakness.
Oh, yes, that's absolutely true. In fact, if you don't get your needs met, it will be a weakness. You'll be triggered. We call it the outhouse because you stink. You know, when that happens, you get into.
I've been there.
Yeah, I'm probably there every day. You know, I mean, can't help it. But anyway, yeah, we really appreciated working with you guys. And one of the things that I think came out of that we heard through the grapevine was that your little nurturers now kind of meet in the morning for a group hug and a quick conversation. They kind of learned who not to go to that really wasn't going to get it.
Yeah, they do. And I think that was what was interesting was when you categorize each of the strengths, and you've got your doers, your nurturers, your promoters, and your thinkers. Going to a thinker with an emotional problem is probably not going to be your best bet.
They don't get it at all, do they?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what was happening. So after we did the training, what was really interesting is that you saw the nurturers kind of band together. And I actually got a lot of enjoyment out of seeing them find their tribe, so to speak.
Yes, exactly.
So that they knew who they could go and talk to if they were having a particular issue. Now, with that being said, that nurturer is going to take their issue and make it their own, and that has happened a little bit as well.
Sure.
Sometimes so you have to
learn boundaries.
You have to kind of pull back a little bit.
Right.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned the 4 quadrants, and you are most definitely a promoter. You fall right there in that promoter quadrant. So,
I am.
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah, I am too. And that's what our job is to get out there and promote things and get the word out and kind of like be the noisemakers a little bit.
I would say that I probably was very well suited for moving into this position because we don't actually sell a particular product, right?
You're a service industry.
Yeah, we're not a manufacturing company. We don't sell a widget. We sell our people, and we sell our culture, and we sell our knowledge to our clients. And so what better person to talk about it than a promoter?
That's right. Exactly. And that's your job.
That's what I do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the nurturers in your office, they're the ones that are taking care of the clients, and they're nurturing them, and they're keeping in touch with them and building those relationships.
Very relationship driven, and we could not be nearly as successful without them.
Right.
Because they make those connections with the clients, and they treat them like family.
They do. They do. And then your thinkers in your organization,
solve problems.
They do. They're taking care of what's behind the scenes, and they're doing some of that planning and running those reports, and they, often love data and
the stuff I don't really like as much.
Makes my eyes cross over, right? And then we have, let's see, what would be left?
Our doers.
Yes, the people who get it done.
And we have a lot of doers in our office, and I'm very thankful for them.
Yeah, because they really kind of take care of business and make sure the day-to-day happening. So you can really see the talents, how they show up when you have an office that really is working like a well-oiled machine where everybody knows their part, everybody knows where they would be working the best, and everything just kind of gels and works together.
It does.
So no wonder you've been nominated Office of the Year so many times.
Not near enough, but we're working on it.
There you go. There you go. Well, it sure has been great having you in the studio today, and I appreciate your time. And so how about if we let everybody know how we can reach you?
So you could reach me via phone.
Yeah.
405-471-5011. That's my direct dial number at work.
All right.
Via my email, which I apologize, it's my whole name and it's long, but it's Stephanie_Ruminer, RUMINER @AJG.com, which stands for Arthur J. Gallagher.
Yeah, and that's who you work for.
It is.
Well, great. And you can find us. And actually, you know what? We have something new to announce is we are launching our corporate work today. Actually, we have a webinar coming out this afternoon.
Awesome.
So we're pretty excited about that. And you can find out more about that on our website. We can be found at www.activateyourstrengths.com. We can be found on Twitter at ActivateStrong and on Periscope at Activate Me. And we even have a Facebook fan page at Activate Your Strengths. So this is Rhonda Boyle, and you have been listening to the Activate Your Strengths show, and we're so glad to have you tune in, and we will see you next time, and go live in your strengths. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Activate Your Strengths with Rhonda Boyle is a presentation of Oklahoma Talking Company. Learn more and listen to other great programs at oklahomatalking.co. This has been a production of Destiny Creative.